connection is not working. Here also we'll get the same error.
Is it on-prem BW system?
Yeah, it is on from AWS. Yeah, it's a IDES system, test training system. Yeah, so that basically that system is down or the cloud connector is down. So yeah, we don't have to investigate it now. I know the remote machine uh, IP. I can go in, I can do that, but let's not waste time. So let's try to stick to the files for now for this session. But yeah, for tomorrow we'll sort it out. What's happening in the connections, we'll see, and then we'll fix the connections. Yeah, but for today's topic, it's mainly focused on connecting DataSphere to SAC. So we'll focus on that. Okay, we'll use the same business partner table. So now I have a local table, right? And then let's create a graphical view. So my table is called BP table. So let's create a view. And from the table, I want a projection because I want only few columns. Select all, exclude everything, and then deselect whatever I want. Just store the selected columns. Okay. So I have 4 columns now in my view. So I'll go to view and I want to be a fact type, and let's expose for consumption also. I'll show both OData and live then. Right. And then in measures, I'll put my phone number as a measure, and rest of that will be my dimension. And let's call it maybe BU partner view. Okay. And let's deploy this. Okay. So it says it's deployed, right? So now how to create a simple analytic model. So you have a button here. If you click create analytic model, that will directly take you to analytic model, and it will automatically add this view as the fact for that analytic model as a fact source. So that's one way. So you can directly click create analytic model. Right. So now if you see here for the analytic model fact source, already it has added the BU partner view. Right. This is one way I can directly deploy and do this. Or I can also do is I can go to the data builder and I can click the analytic model. It will start from scratch, and it's very similar to the view. Like you have the repository objects which you can drag and drop, and based on that, it will create the fact source. Right. And if there are any associations, we'll come to that. We have not seen what are associations, what are joins, etc. So if there are something, it will automatically be added here. But for now, we just have a simple fact source, which is a fact view. And based on that, it has already identified the measure and dimensions. Right. So now I'll call it uh, business partner analytic model, and I can deploy it. So previously, there was no analytic model. There was only analytic data set. And the problem or one of the drawbacks with that is the data previewer, right? If you it in that if you click the preview, it will show the preview in the bottom half, and it is not very close to what an analytic tool will do, right? So now with this new analytic model, what has happened is you have a data preview, which is much more close to how an analytics tool will see it, right? So if you make some changes, like if you add hierarchies, if you add language translations, if you add currency, etc., you don't have to go till the analytics cloud to see it. You can just come to this analytic model previewer, and here itself, you can add different columns, you can add uh, different measures, and you can see how it will look like, how the hierarchies are, how the currencies are showing, are the currencies right, and everything. So we will see that the power of this data previewer as we see more and more analytic related features, right? But for now, all you can know is that in the modeler itself, in the analytic model, you have a preview button. So if you click that, it has a more robust preview, right? So with that said, yeah, now we have a model, we have deployed the model. So how do you consume this in the analytics cloud? Or we will later see other tools also, but for now, how we will consume this in analytics cloud? So how do you make the connection?
I have a question. Can analytical model can also be exposed through SQL view the way you have done through graphical?
uh, it's not a simple view actually. So it is a star schema in the SQL level, and
No,
ideally
no,
you will not.
no, no. There are two different ways of creating a view: graphical view and SQL view. So I'm talking about the SQL view.
Okay.
S-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for fact source, yeah, like I said, even the graphical view is in end of the day. So yeah, that's why I need you to all to be very clear, right? So only thing is we are creating graphical view and SQL view in the design time they are different, but once you deploy it, there is no difference between a graphical view and the SQL view. The graphical view we create is also an SQL view. Only thing is the SQL is generated by SAP themselves, right? So they are both same. So in analytic model, yeah, both can be source. It can be a
So
graphical view, it can be
it's like same approach like HANA modeling, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's graphical SQL only in the design time. In the runtime, they are both same.
So when we deploy a SQL view, there will also another there will be option of exposing as a analytical model.
Yes.
I think it's as simple as it. Like graphical view means like you just use the projection or aggregation, and then you select the fields, and then you uh, deploy it. When it comes to SQL, you write select. I mean SQL query inside your view, and then you deploy it.
Okay.
So
So
no, his
yeah.
question was this one,
Yeah.
whether
Yes.
we'll
Yes.
have
Yes.
yes. So
Yes.
we'll have
That's it.
that.
Okay. Yes.
So
That's
that's
why my
why
question.
while showing SQL view itself, one thing I said is in this model property panel, there is no difference between the graphical
Okay.
view and the
Okay.
SQL. So only difference is in the canvas. So in the graphical view, in the canvas, everything is drag and drop. In the SQL view, it is a SQL console. So you type the code. But in the model property, like we have not seen a lot of properties, we have not seen several things. So all the property will be same between the SQL view and the graphical view.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
Okay. So now
And
let's.
Ram, for both OData connection and analytical creation, we have to expose. I mean, we have to click the button for the expose for consumption, right?
No. So analytic model is by default exposed for consumption. But any other views you want to expose, yes, you have to click expose for consumption.
Oh,
Okay, so let's get back to the part of connecting this to SAC, right? So now I want to connect this to SAC, and one thing that we learned is analytic model is very flexible, and it allows both type of connection, right? So it allows live connection, and it allows OData connection. So for OData connection information, you can find from here. So if you click generate OData information, you'll see the exact OData query for this particular model. So this is the space name followed by the model name. So we'll come to OData in a bit, but before that, the SAP type of connection, the live connection, we'll see how to create it. So for that, I have to go to
Sorry.
the SAP
Sorry.
Analytics.
From where you have exposed the data? Can you please repeat it again?
for analytic model, you don't have to expose it. So once you deploy
Okay.
it, you can click this button and then it will
Okay,
show
okay.
the link for the data.
Okay,
Only
okay,
for
thank
views, you have to choose between whether you want to expose or you don't want to expose.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so now I'll switch. I have duplicated the tab and I'm switching here from my DataSphere to Analytic Cloud. So even for this product switch to enable, the very first thing you might have need to do the very first time, don't do it now. You might break uh, the product switch, but I am showing it to you so that if you are in an administrative role, you need to do this. Right. So you go to administration and then in the tenant link, right? So here you have the very first time, and I think only the system owner can do it. We are all admin, but not system owner, so we don't get the edit option. So here you have to drop the SAP Analytics Cloud URL, right? So there is a small difference between the cloud, SAP Analytics Cloud and DataSphere. There is -1 here. Here it is not there. So you put the moment you put the SAP Analytics Cloud URL here and save it, in the DataSphere side, there will be this product switcher button, and then you will see the switch to SAP Analytics Cloud. Same way in SAP Analytics Cloud tenant also there is this tenant link option, and there you have to put the DataSphere tenants link. And the moment you save that, in the data in the Analytics Cloud also you will have this product switcher, and then when you click it, you will see the DataSphere, right? So this type of tenant linking can be done only to one system, right? So one SAP Analytics Cloud can have one DataSphere as the product switch link, right? That does not mean one SAP Analytics Cloud can only connect to one DataSphere. One SAP Analytics Cloud can connect to any number of DataSphere system, and same way any one DataSphere system can be connected to any number of Analytics Cloud through connections. So we are going to see connections now. So through connections, there can be end-to-end. So any number of DataSphere can be connected to one Analytics, and one DataSphere can be connected to any number of Analytics Cloud.
Like,
But for the product switcher, it is just one-to-one, right? So when you click this button, it has to know which DataSphere system it should go to. So that is an administrator level setting. That is not a simple connection.
So that
Okay,
means
now
only one tenant we can connect at a time.
No, exactly the opposite. So
yeah, multiple.
So what I mean is, so I have DataSphere, DSP dev, and then I have DSP quality, and then I have the DSP prod. So ideally, you will be connecting to SAC dev, SAC quality, SAC prod, right? So ideally, you will be doing one-to-one connection only. And what I will do is, I will enable the product switcher also. So product switcher is an admin level setting. So in SAC, I'll go to the product switcher or the tenant link and then say, this is the DataSphere you are associated with, and this is the DataSphere you are associated with, like that. So this type of tenant linking will always be one-to-one. So I can only have one tenant linked to one tenant. Whereas for some reason, I want to get some data from this DataSphere quality in the SAC dev, right? Can it be done? Yes, that can also be done. And that is done through connections. So this type of connections, you can have end to end. So I can have this connected and I can have another connection from the quality to SAC dev, like that. So only thing is in tenant linking, you can always link one DataSphere or one Analytics Cloud, but in the connections we are going to see now, we have not seen the connections yet. So in connections, you can create even between one system, you can create many connections. It doesn't make sense, but yeah, you can create many connections. So in the data dev itself, from dev to dev, maybe I created one connection without knowing that Usha created another connection, and without knowing that another person created another connection, like that also. So to create such connections, we'll come to this connections page, right? And then we'll create connection. And for DataSphere live connection, we'll go under live data and we see a section called DataSphere. So when I click that, it will ask me several information. So one is host, the other is port, and then we can give some name, right? So where do you get this host? So if you go to the data sphere, you'll see the host name. So that is the host. And what is the port? So always for data sphere, the port is 443. So that you can always put 443. And name you can give anything. So I'm just going to say DSP RAM, so that if all of you are going to give some names, it will allow. So special characters are not allowed. So I'll give it like this. And then when I say save, so you saw a small pop-up come up, right? So what that is doing is it is doing a single sign-on basically. So if you have logged your pop-ups, here there will be a pop-up blocker appearing in your URL in this side, and you have to click that, and then you have to say always allow pop-ups, right? So that's one thing that can break your connection. And the other thing is sometimes, the tenants will not trust each other, right? And then you have to make them trust each other. So for that, there is an administrator level setting, which I will show you now. So if you go here,
So all these connections you are doing from SSC, right?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so what I wanted to show the app integration. So when you go to this app integration, and if you scroll all the way down here, so you see here there are some links that are given as trusted origins, right? So in our case, the SAC and DataSphere, they are both in the origin or domain of this hcs.cloud.sap, which is already in trusted origin. So that's why when I gave this URL, which is also HCS Cloud SAP, there was no issues. But if I gave, for example, my thing is somewhat different. It's like XYZ or some other domain. My DataSphere tenant URL is like this. Then if I give this URL directly in my connection, so it will give an error. It will give a red toast message saying that there is some SSL error. And that means my SAC is not trusting that domain. So in that case, what I have to do is I have to come to this administrator app integration. Here I have to give that domain. So for example, it is https://xyz.cloud.sap. Then I have to give it here and then save it. And then I have to go back and create the connection. But as this SAC and that DataSphere, they are both in the same domain. It is already in the list of allowed trusted origins. So I didn't have to do this step.
Recording in progress.
So yeah, I would say go ahead and then try creating this connection. Just give your name. Please go on mute if you don't.
Understood or not? Tell me. Is it getting clear to all of you? Yes? Now, whenever we talking about the generative
Ramana,
AI,
can you go on mute, please? Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, everyone can go ahead and try creating your own DataSphere connection, and then let me know if you are facing any issues. So in a moment, we'll see how to use this connection. But first, let's create the connection. And any questions on this? Okay, then go ahead and create connections. Just take 1 or 2 minutes. So we'll take the next 5 minutes.
So Ram, for the tenant which is already linked, so let's say you would have one SAC tenant linked to one DataSphere tenant. Do you still need to create this connection? Because I read if the tenants are linked, you don't need this connection, like connection to be created.
You don't need it because it will automatically one default connection will be there that will show up in the stories and wherever you want to consume.
Yeah, but when I was trying not on Mentor School, I had a customer tenant which was already linked to DataSphere and SAC. I could see in the admin configuration, I could see under the tenant linking, both the URLs were mentioned. But somehow when I wanted to see any of my analytical models in for SAC story consumption. I could not see the data sphere on the left side. The data sphere catalog comes, right, where you can
Correct,
select
correct.
your
In the
analytical model.
workspaces.
Yeah, it was not showing up. But then when I
So
did
this
this,
new tenant linking, right? So the tenant
yeah,
linking was there for a long time for the product switch purpose, but for this new seamless planning, they are making tenant linking somewhat more advanced. So maybe that is the reason. Maybe I checked in some beta tenants where by default when you tenant link, this is the default connection that gets created. SAP DWC, I guess that's the name. That's the default name. So that automatically gets created, and whenever you go to stories, this name will be listed. So if this connection is not getting created automatically by tenant linking, then you have to create a connection. But if this connection is available, then you can use that connection. So either ways, by tenant linking, you have to see that if there is a connection that's getting created.
okay, so you're saying there is an implicit connection which gets created when you link two tenants.
Yes.
I could not see that. Maybe that's the issue. But yeah, when I created explicitly when I went ahead and created a connection by giving the URL and port number, it was very simple, nothing to do. It just created a live connection. And then I was able to see my space, and then within the space, my analytical model. But when I was reading the documentation, it said if your tenants are linked, you don't need to create anything.
Yeah, correct. That's also my understanding. And my understanding is like it will create this SAP DWC as the default connection. That's why it's not required that you manually create it. But yeah, if it is failing somehow, I mean, the long route you can take is you can raise a ticket.
Yeah,
to
that is
SAP
of
and
course an
see
option. Yeah.
what's happening. But yeah, the shortest
Easier
route you
to.
can take is DataSphere will just take just a URL and port number. So that's the
Yeah,
simplest route.
that's what. Yeah.
Ram, where the host
So
name will be getting?
my
Sorry,
doubt
can you
was
show
more.
again? Host name from DataSphere.
Yeah.
It'll be just a URL.
Yeah, no, where
Just-
to get? If you go to DataSphere,
Uh-huh.
so where
So
to get?
from the address bar,
Okay.
So from the address bar, the first part, this one.
And you'll be creating the live connection, right?
Yeah.
The client, everything what you have to give. Sorry, I think I when I create a BW live connection I'm creating. So will that take, or I have to create a file based connection?
No, DataSphere live connection.
Okay.
Okay. So if not, I'll show you how to consume this connection. Okay. So for DataSphere models, or sorry, for the DataSphere connection, live connection, you do not have to create model or anything. For other live connections, for example, BW live connection or any other live connection, you have to first go to the modeler, and then you will be creating a live model, because even though the live model does not store any data, it will at least store the metadata. It will store the metadata inside SAC. So you will have something like a remote table, right? So it will show the structure in the modeler as a model, and then it will show the two arrows showing that, okay, it's a live model. For DataSphere, it's not required and it's not possible also. So if I click the live data model here, if I go to system type, see, I don't see SAP DataSphere. It only shows SAP BW and SAP HANA, right? So for DataSphere, you don't have to create a live model. You can directly go to the stories. And when you create a story, so there is no more you have to use classic. You should use the ODE, right? So when you create a story, And when you try to add data, so this is the button to add data. Okay. So when you add data, you can go here and say data from existing data set or model. So in the side where it shows all the catalog and workspaces and everything, you will see your DataSphere connection that you just created. Right. For example, I'm seeing this DataSphere RAM. Right. So when I click that connection name, it will show me all the spaces for which I have access. Okay, so all these are spaces for which my user has access. And if you remember, it is using the same user because single sign-on between DataSphere and SAC. So whatever my user has access, all the spaces are listed. And if I go inside a space, I can see my analytic model. So what will list here in the live connection? If you remember from the picture we saw, can anyone tell me?
What was the question?
In a live connection, what are all things that can be consumed? Like what are all DataSphere related objects that will show?
Analytical model and the from business builder
Perspectives.
perspective from business builder.
Perspectives and views.
Yes,
The
perspectives and analytic model. Not
Views cannot be. Views should be through data.
So views, I mean, analytic data set is a view and it will show here, but it is not recommended to use anymore. So for now, if someone asks what are all the supported objects, yes, it is analytic model from the data builder and then perspectives from the business builder. But you are partially right if you say views also, because if you create a view as an analytic data set, it will still show here. That's one of the reason why it says data set or model still, right? So, and also you can I mean, if you can use it, so far there is no technical restriction. It allows you to use analytic data, but it's not a good practice. And if you face some failures and if you report a issue to SAP, SAP will simply say that it's not recommended to create this anymore. So why did you do it this way? And you might have to redo all the work. So for now, if you have analytic models and if you have perspectives, it will show up here in the live, right? So now I see my analytic model which I created. So I can click that. And then that gets added as a data source for this story. So story is nothing but a report where you can add charts and tables and a lot of other things, right? So if I want to add a simple chart, I can click the chart button. And then a site builder panel appears. And then here I can see measures and dimensions. So to build a chart, basically I require at least one measure. So we have phone number. This is a weird measure which we used. So I can add that measure. And if I want dimension, I can add any dimension. So maybe for partner ID, I'm adding. So that's basically, we created an analytic model in DataSphere, and we are now seeing that in a story in SAC, right? For all that it required is you have to create a connection, and that was also a very simple connection. Just put a host name and a port number. The connection was created. After that, you came here, you said add new data, added a data set or model, and you selected your connection name, and it showed all your analytic models, and you can build a story on top of that. Right?
But how do we do in real time? Like we cannot directly give the host and port, right? So it should be by destination if I'm not wrong.
No, this is how you do it in real time also.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying like, say you have you went to DataSphere URL, okay, and then you copied the host and the port is 443 by default. So it's actually pasted there in the connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So suppose you are trying to move this particular model to quality or production, test out production tenant.
We'll come to that. We'll come to the lifecycle management. It will be based on the name of the objects. So we'll see that later.
And second question is like if you directly use that host and port, then how do we sure about the security, like certificates and all we need, right, to integrate, to connect? So how do we handle that?
It's HTTPS, so it is secured unless someone does a social engineering.
No, but still,
gets your password.
See, my point is, suppose you want to integrate two systems, right? So most probably I mean, here we can directly integrate, but normally in client customer system, they ask us to provide some certificate. They should share the certificates, right? I mean, security certificates.
Yes, that's required if the systems don't trust each other, if they have different certification authority. Right? How the HTTPS works is based on certification authority. I am saying that, for example, I trust Pratap, right? I know Pratap, so I trust Pratap. And then if Pratap says, you can also trust Usha, then I will start trusting Usha. Like that, there is a
But
certification chain.
yeah, true.
But
But SAP, see, with SAP, there might be chances like we integrate with non-SAP systems also, and even it's SAP. But with
yeah, I'm
customers,
coming to that.
okay,
So
okay,
I understand your question,
yeah.
right? So what I'm saying is, so in some cases, yes, you do need to establish trust. You need to upload certificates, and you have to create OAuth and everything. But between DataSphere and SAC, because they are very close products, so there is no lot of complexity. Like you don't have to do the certificate. And one of the reason is both the products are signed by the same root certificate. Like if you go and check the certificate, it's both are signed by the same root certificate. So SAC will not say that I don't trust this root DigiCert global root GP.
Because here you have both SSC and Datasphere on same account, same sub account. But most of the cases, it could be on different sub accounts, different
No, sub account
global
doesn't have
account.
to do anything. Global account, sub account doesn't have to do anything with the certification authority. So different concepts. So in BTP, I know where you are coming from. In BTP, yes, we have destinations, and in AWS and a lot of other cloud providers, yes, you have destination, basically to handle ingress and exgress, like the data that is coming in and the data that is going out. Yes, agreed. But between DataSphere and SAC, this is how they do connections. So there is no other option. In production also, I worked with many clients. This is the way. There is no good practice, best practice, etc. This is the option how you connect DataSphere and SAC. And there is no, you don't have to worry about putting the host and port here. It is secure. And I think most customers understand that as well. And you can go to the help documentation and find out like how they have handled this and so on. But I would say this is not a point that came up in any discussion in the customer facing things also.
Yeah, fine, fine.
Okay, and we'll come to that life cycle part, which is a very great question actually. So we'll come to that while we are talking about packages and transports. Okay, so maybe everyone maybe take 5-10 minutes, to create a very simple analytic model. So you might already have some views. So make that view into a fact view, right? And put something in a measure and dimension and create a analytic model, and then create a live data sphere connection and try to create a story out of your view or your analytic model, so that you have the confidence of building something in datasphere and then seeing that in SSE. Take 10 minutes, so it's 9:20 almost, so take till 9:30 and do this. This is very critical and one of the simplest things, but yeah, at least have become comfortable with it. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. Yeah, in the meantime, like if others have any questions, maybe some of them are practicing, maybe instead of staying quiet, we can discuss that. So, yeah, any questions anyone has?
So Ram, this analytical model cannot be created directly on table, right? It has to be through a view only.
Yes, it has to be either on fact or analytic data set. So if I go here, when I create an analytic model, right? So the sources it will show here, for example, inside the process chain, I have tables and views and everything. But you see here, it shows nothing from that folder because it will only show either a view of, for example, if I go here to this view.
So ADS will be anyway deprecated. So in the new parlance, it has to be a fact or a dimension,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It has to be a fact for the center fact source, and then you
Yeah.
can associate that with multiple dimensions.
But dimension
Basically,
is
we are
not
building here
mandatory.
a stars. Yeah, it is not mandatory. Basically, we are trying to build a star schema here.
I got it.
I have a question, not related to that one, but relating to connecting data space with different databases, for example, Oracle and SQL and SAP. So, what will be the best option, either to dump all the data from different data sources in one space, or to create different spaces for different sources? What is basically the best practice regarding this one?
So one space for your, okay, in data space side connections, right? So I have seen both approaches. So one approach I have seen is they'll create one space called as a technical space, right? And that space they will use it centrally to maintain different things like currency exchange table, connections to all the systems, and so on. And then they share those objects which can be used in other spaces from that
Yeah.
one space to the other spaces. That's one approach. The other approach is like, if you think, okay, for example, there is a particular connection to a particular system, and that will only be used in a finance space. Right? Then in that case, they will directly create that connection in the finance space.
Okay, so both the approaches are basically being used in real time.
Yeah, correct.
Ram, one question. So in the data builder, it's again a basic question. The data builder, how to go to your space? I'm having actually trouble. I must have forgot that.
Okay,
I'm in data
so
builder.
if you have to go to my space, first you have to go to space management, find
Yeah.
my space, find my space, and add yourself to my space. Then you get access, and then you will see in your data builder.
No, I did that. So if you want to share my screen, just
Okay,
I'll-
sure.
yeah. So this is what I can see my screen now.
Uh, yes.
This is okay. So
So if you click test, it will go inside the test.
no, I don't, because MySpace is not right. So I have to. MySpace is something else. MySpace is this one. So if you
Okay,
go to
then add yourself to the space manager.
space management, right?
It's in the bottom here. Under that line, there is that symbol, right? Like, yes. that-
Space management. I'll put MySpace. Okay,
Edit.
this one, right?
Yeah, edit.
Yeah. Okay.
Edit and go to the users. Yeah, add. No, click add in the top. Yeah, here find your user. Next, find the role. Okay, so you have not added any role to your space. So cancel this. Go to the roles in the sidebar. Roles. Security. So here, scroll down all the way to the bottom.
Create a new scope role.
Yeah, go up. There will be some role that you can already use. But yeah, if you want to create, you can also create. If you go up a little bit, yeah, take any one of the space admin role, or there will be a standard space admin role also. SAP, some space administrator. Space admin. No, type space. Yeah,
This one.
that's first scope role. No, that one. Yeah, in that, click that 5 scopes.
Mm-hmm.
Add your scope. Add your space also as a scope. Search your space. Okay.
So now
Now you can go to space.
space management. Okay, no, here, right? Space management. I'll source my space. Edit.
You're added. So now if you go to data builder, you will see yourself.
If I go to data builder.
Okay. So you have to log out and log in once because you just changed your own access, right? So
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. So any questions? Anyone stuck? Everyone
Yes.
able to connect to SSC?
Hi Ram,
Yeah.
can you please provide the Google Drive link?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm putting it in the chat. So hasn't, like, in your this LMS portal, this link is not there, Google Drive link?
I cannot see. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move to the next topic. So any questions? Why I'm asking again and again is I want everyone to be able to do this is the very basic thing. And if you don't know how to connect DataSphere and SAC in the start, then we are going to do so many things, right? So we are going to create, for example, geo enrichment in DataSphere, and then we are going to create map in SAC. We are going to do translation in DataSphere. We are going to see how it looks in SAC, like that. So we'll be seamlessly switching between DataSphere and SAC. So I want you to be very comfortable in this first step. Okay. So I think no questions. So we can move on. Okay. So with this, we'll go to business builder also, or maybe that's too much leap. So we'll do that later. We'll do one more thing, which is an introduction to the. I wanted to do the OData also, but OData maybe I'll start tomorrow because we have almost only 25 minutes, and OData is a bigger topic. I want to show you a couple of things in OData, and also I want to show you how you want, if you want to learn OData, like querying OData, it's also like SQL, right? So you have certain operators in OData also to filter, to limit, and all that. So I want to get into the details of it. It will take at least 45 minutes for me. So I will not rush it now. So I'll take it tomorrow. So in the meantime, let's see what is a data flow and what is a replication flow. Because quite recently they introduced this replication flow. So now people are confused. Why do I require a data flow? And why do I require a replication flow? What is the difference and so on? Like the other things, they have specific purposes. So it's easier to, even though transformation flows is a flow, it serves a different purpose. Lookup, different purpose extra. But these two kind of confuses a lot of people. So let's understand what they are. So replication flow is introduced new in DataSphere, and it is something like, if you are from a data services background, or if you have worked in data intelligence cloud and so on, or if you have worked in any ETL tool, even in HANA, if you have worked in SLT or something like that, you know what a replication is. So you have a source table, you have a target table, you just want to copy source to target. That's all. You just want to replicate. There is no lot of calculation, transformation, cleaning, or anything going on. So you have database A or source A. So that can be S4 HANA or Amazon or Google, anything. You have one source and you have one target. Again, target can be SAP HANA database, S4 HANA, Amazon S3 bucket, anything. So you have a source database, you have a target database. So from source database, you can copy multiple tables and you can put it in target. But it is like simple replication. So that's why it looks like, source table 1, target table, source table 1, target table, source table 1, target, like that. So if you want to do simple one-to-one replication from a source DB to a target DB without even touching any objects in the data sphere, right? So I want some S4 data to be replicated in Amazon S3 bucket. Then I can use DataSphere just as a ETL tool. In that case, I can use the replication flow. So I will connect my source database 1 to my target database, and then I'll select whatever tables I want from source, say 5-6 tables, and I'll click replicate, and that will create this 5-6 tables in my target. Right? That's the replication flow. It's just using DataSphere like a ETL tool. DataSphere doesn't have to use.
Is that going to the replacement for SLT and data services? Is that the plan? Or do you see that?
Yes, SAP never says anything like that. So everything will always coexist. So, I mean, maybe they might have that plan, but I would say it is not that, in data services, there are so many options, right? So maybe
because
it's not a direct
one of the project, I can say the Caterpillar, what they're doing. So they're saying, when I spoke to them, they're saying, what you're doing, we are using DataSphere as a ETL tool. Then I thought, how? So that means they will be using the replication flow to replicate the data from source to target. Maybe they are in the initial stage, but they're actually thinking, they're saying DataSphere as a ETL tool.
Yeah. So yeah, correct. You are right. So it's maybe in an initial stage. We have to see how it matures. But yeah, if you ask me, I have worked extensively in data service also. So
Mhm.
I know the complexity of the flows we can build there. So it is nowhere close to the replication flow. So
Exactly.
maybe in the future they can add
Yeah.
more stuff here.
But last time I'm hearing SLT, right? We are not hearing SLT now. So SLT has taken a back seat. So
SLT is
very,
quiet. Yeah, that can get replaced. Yes.
yeah. So
Okay, coming to the data flow. Now, okay, so we understood what replication flow is. So replication flow is like, uh, to put it, so replication flow is I have a source DB, and then I have a target DB. So when I say DB, it can be anything. So it can be S4 HANA, it can be HANA, it can be Amazon, S3 bucket, or anything. Any connection supported by DataSphere. Same way, target can be HANA, S4 HANA, right? Anything. So one connection in the source, one connection in the target. From source, okay, I'm picking maybe S4 HANA, and in the target maybe I'm picking Amazon S3, right? So I want to copy say 5 tables from S4 HANA and put it in S3, right? In that case, I am using replication flow or the data sphere just as a connector or the middleman, or popularly known as the ETL tool, right? So in that case, I will use the replication flow. Whereas I want to, take some data from some source, and then I want to do some transformation or anything, and then I want to put it in DataSphere itself. The target is some DataSphere table. Then I will use data flow. So one difference here is in replication flow, there can be multiple tables as the source, and they will replicate to multiple target tables. Whereas in data flow, I can take from multiple sources, and then I can do a lot of transformations, joins, unions, and all those things. And then I will always write to some target. And in this case, it will be happening like within the datasphere. Here in this case, datasphere is not acting like a ETL tool bridging between two systems, but it is doing something within itself, right? So we will see a simple data flow now so that you will understand. And for this, what I'm going to do is, so
Ram,
if you
in replication flow, you're saying data sphere will never be a target.
can be, it need not, it can be a target. It's not that there is no technical restriction. Data spheres, even the data sphere space and its HDI container can be a target. But the purpose they release the replication flow is to replicate multiple tables from source to target. So target can be data sphere also. Yes. I'm not saying it cannot be. I'm just saying even in the cases where system A is talking to system B, DataSphere is just the middleman. That is also possible.
One more thing, Ram. Nowadays, SAP is talking about this semantic onboarding. They are marketing it like anything, and that's
Yes,
the
unified customer
reason they're saying.
landscape.
Yeah, they're saying use data. If you say like if there is a competitor, right, like a Snowflake, the moment you mention
Mhm.
Snowflake, they're saying, oh, semantic onboarding and preserve your semantics. Is where SAP hints. So, what is semantic onboarding? I think it's something which came recently, or
Yes, so we have a separate session on that. So we will
okay,
take a look at
okay, we can.
that. But yeah, the short answer is semantic onboarding is like you exactly put it. So generally, the difference between a ETL tool and a full-fledged data warehousing tool is that in ETL tool is just like a pump. So before predecessor of ETL tools are exactly called as data pumps. So we have Oracle database or DB2 database or something. Then we use a utility like data pumps to get the data from a database table to a file or to XML or to something, right? So they just pump the data. They don't know the schematics of the data. Meaning, so inside my database, maybe I had some referential integrity between two tables, right? So there was a database schema that had like my employee table has a relationship with the department table, and then there were a lot of uh, the meaning, like the schematics or the schema that is in the database. The ETL tools or data pumps, they just looked at, okay, you are a table, you are a table. I am moving data from here to there. That's all. The schematics is lost. So you
Yeah,
can
the
build the
relationship will be
schematics in
lost
the
between them.
yeah, you can build the schematics in the target system, but then you are basically redoing some of the work. So with the
Correct.
schematic onboarding, what they are saying is the schematics will never be lost. So you are not just replicating, you are not just pumping the data, but you are onboarding the schematics. So it's a marketing term, but we'll see what happening, like how they are achieving it. Okay.
So
So
what
now
can be the
let's
use case of replication flow in SAP landscape? I understand you can connect with S4 to, let's say, a third party any warehousing or a database like
see,
S3
from
or
what I
anything. But
understand is it was a very much used feature in both in HANA side and then also in data intelligence cloud. Uh, this type of replication, like replicating multiple source tables to target table, is a very useful feature in the data intelligence cloud and also in the HANA. So what happened is they again the data intelligence cloud is taking a backseat now. The all the development and the talks about it is stopping. So I think they are bringing in all the features that are very good in intelligence cloud into the data sphere, and that's one of the reasons why replication flow is here now. Now, what is a business case where you can use this? We will see that we will create one
okay,
or two replication flows and we'll see that.
sure.
Okay, so data. I think today I wanted to complete 4 or 5 things, but yeah, I think we used most of time in Q&A. That's okay. Um, okay, coming to the data flow editor. So this looks very similar to the view editor, and then it gives you a lot of options that are also similar to the view editor. So one of the questions I have, tough time answering to people is the difference, right? So for example, here you see, if you remember in graphical view editor, we had operators where you can do projection, calculation, aggregation, and all the things. Here we have Python script, we'll come to that. But we have very similar operators. We had projection, we had calculation, we had filter, so many things, right? And we had joins and unions also. So here also all these same things are there. So what is the difference, right? So what is the difference between the view and the data flow? So basically, the difference is not in this operators, right? The operators are the same thing. Here join is join, in view also join is join. Here union is union, there also union is union. The difference is in view, you are not moving any data. So you have a source for the view, like a table or another view, and you are just building a select query on top of the view, right? So you are just restricting the number of columns, or you are creating a calculated column, and the end product is a view, which is nothing but a select query, right? So there is no actual data movement. So the data is still in the source. So if the source is the table, the data is still in the table. This view is just creating a select query on top of the table. So whenever you are consuming this view in any analytics model or anything, and then it's going to a reporting layer, whenever the reporting layer, the query will be executed and the data will be shown from the source itself. Whereas in the data flow, what we are actually doing is we are taking data from view or table or anything, and then we are going to put it in some table. So you cannot put it in a view because view doesn't store any data, but you can get it from a view. That's why in the source side, if you see, it shows both views and tables and remote tables and everything, right? But in the target side, you will see, for example, I'll bring this remote table as the source. In the target side, if I wanted to generate a target, so I can click this add table. Right, so my target table is getting generated. So if you see here in target side, it is a table, right? So it's saying create and deploy the table one does not exist. That's the validation message. But if you see, the target is a table because here the actual data movement is going to happen. So what I can do is I can build a very complex flow. For example, I want to create a lot of join, and then I want to do some union, I want to do some projection, calculation, everything. And even here, very powerful operator is there, Python script operator. Inside that, we have popular, data visualization and data cleaning libraries like uh, Pandas, NumPy, and so on. And very limited, but yeah, it's good compared to other operators. It's little flexible, so we can do a lot of powerful things for the data. We can massage the data, and then we can write it to a target within Datasphere, right? So, for example, I have this employee table or remote table, and I simply want to, maybe I want to do some Python script and I want to do some cleaning because the data is not. So if I say I have a remote table and I simply want to create a target, then you will ask me, why not just persist the remote table, right? Or why not you create a view and then persist the view? Or why not just create a replication flow because you are doing one table to one table, like that? Or you can have so many questions, but here the main thing is you have a source, you have a target, and you want to move actual data between the source and the target, and in the path you can do so many things, especially for data cleaning and harmonization. That is your use case. Then we'll go for the data flow. So in data flow, always the target will be a table, unlike a view. So in a graphical view, which looks like a data flow, but there is no actual data flow happening. They are only sharing this canvas similarity, and then the operators are similar. But the main difference between a graphical view and the data flow is that graphical view is nothing but a select query, no data movement, and the end point of the graphical view is the view itself. It's not a target. Whereas in the data flow, I can have a very complex flow. We'll see real scenarios. I can have a very complex flow, but the target is always a table, right? So I have a table, maybe I'll call it table 1, 2, and then I can deploy the table. Right now the table is deployed, and if you see here, I can deploy the data flow first. So I only deployed the table, not the data flow. So now I am deploying the data flow. So now if I go to my source and if I view data, I can see the data right in the source. The remote table, I think from OData. So let's see if it works. So there is data, but in the target, if I go and view, I don't see any data because I just created the data flow. I have never run it. So the data didn't flow through this pipeline, right? So if I want to the data to actually move and do all the operations we have declared, then I have to run the data flow. So I can run it. And what happens is that data flow triggers and it runs. And once it says completed, then the actual data will be moved from the source through all the operations we did, and it will end up in the target. Right? And similar to the persistency and everything, here also you have schedules, and everywhere whenever there is a schedule available, you will have that simple schedule and the con expression and everything. Right? So you can keep it scheduled and keep it running, etc. You can also switch to the monitor or the data monitor screen, and then you can see. Okay, so it loaded the data. It's done. So let me go back. So if you remember, this is the data flow that we created, data flow 1, and target table was this one, table 1, 2. Right. So if I see the data preview, now I will have the data. Right. And then in the data flow, there are some important settings in the properties panel. We'll discuss this. And tomorrow we'll discuss all the operators in the data flow and create a very robust or complex data flow. So here, coming to the options, the one of the main thing when we said the data is moving through a data pipeline and ending up in the target, the very first question, like whoever is from PW or any data warehouse background, they'll ask us, okay, so is it a full update or is it a delta update, or is there a way to control how the data is getting loaded, right? So I have modes here. So I have one mode which is by default, which is called append mode. So what happens is, so say for example, there are 9 records which are already there. If I run this flow again, irrespective of what is already there, again another 9 records will be added, right? That is called append mode. So in append mode, the problem is sometimes, yes, you want duplicates. That's how the business is. But sometimes duplicates are bad, right? For example, in this case, I'm loading all the employee data, right? And I have not set employee ID as the key in this table. So it's not going to detect duplicates also. So if I say append and if I run it again, what will happen is I will end up having duplicate employee records, right? So that's bad. So I have to understand the type of data that is coming from the source, and then I have to select the mode correctly. So sometimes what I want is, because this is a very small table, just 9 records, right? And I don't want append. So every time I don't want to duplicate. So sometimes what I want is I want to truncate and then load the data. So whatever data is inside, it will get truncated and then the new data will be loaded. Sometimes I want to completely, not delete all the data, but I want to see whatever data is coming in. For example, I have some ID columns defined like employee ID, and then I'm seeing that in the data that is coming in, only 1, 2, 3, 4 are coming in. The first 4 records are coming in, and then I'll delete only those 4 records, and then I'll write those 4 records. Whereas truncate wipes out everything and then loads everything.
Is that truncate is like a full load?
Full delete and then load. Yes, correct. Full load. And then delete is like, you delete. See, delete mode removes the matching records of the mapped column. Selective deletion. And then you have append mode with upsert operation. So that is like your delta, where it checks your primary key and then it sees, okay, so this record is already there, so I should not append it. It will check if the measures have changed or the values have changed, except the key if any other column has changed. It will update those values. So it will be like an update statement. If there is no change in a particular record, it will just skip it. If it is a new record, it will insert it. So it is kind of update and insert, which is called upsert operation. So if you check this, it will not result in any duplication. So if the same record already exists, if the values are changed, it will update the value. If the incoming thing is a new record, it will put a new record. But if the incoming if the incoming record is already there and the values are also not changed, just skip. It will not append. Right? So that way, if you enable this, there should not be any duplicates. If you disable this and run in plain append mode, it will not care what is coming from the source, what is there in the target. It will always fetch from source, write it to target. Fetch from source, write it to target. So the only thing is, if you have a primary key set, so the target will not allow you to write and it will fail, but it will still try to write to the target. Right? And truncate, like we saw, full delete, clean slate, and then clean load. And delete, again, selective, like it will check the incoming rows, records, and then it will check the keys there, and then it will delete those selectively from the target, and then it will write it. So these are the different modes. Okay, so and whenever you are putting a table in a data flow, that, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ram, I have one question. The modes which you have mentioned right now, related to the delete one, you said that it is like a selective deletion. If we select that, do we get any pull down menu happens for us, for the selective deletions based on the dimensions?
Mapping. So if I go to truncate,
Mhm.
right? So here
So
it
truncate is
ignores the
something like a
mapping.
drop and reload, right?
Yes, drop is you're dropping the entire table. Truncate is a database truncate operation. So structure remains, the entire data is truncated. Whereas drop
Okay.
is your table itself is dropped. So that doesn't happen. So your
Okay.
table key, everything is still there. Truncate is your database truncate operation, right? So you don't have any selection. Just truncate table name to drop all the data. So what happens is in truncate, it will ignore all these mappings. It doesn't care about the key, it doesn't care about the mapping or anything. Whereas in delete, that's what it says. So in the mapping section, map the columns based on which the record in the target table will be deleted. That means like if I have, I have a key and I have some column mappings and all, right? What happens now if this record is already there? This employee ID 1 is already there. Now again in the source, again it is going to come with the same employee ID 1 and this entire record. So what it will do, it will delete this record and then it will reload this record. But whereas there is a new record coming in, which is like employee ID 10, it will not delete anything here because there is no match for 10. So it will load it just like that. So it will check the incoming records. If it is already there, it will delete and reload. Right. So this you will use mostly in cases of repair. So if you have done something bad to your data and if you think the data is messed up, you want to do some kind of repair, then you will run it in delete mode. So basically it will check the existing records and it will correct. So in this cases, if you want to put filters, generally the filter will be on the source side. So for example, I have messed up the data for the last month. What I will do is I understand your point because that's what you're trying to get to. You're saying if there is an option where I can select the range
Yeah,
of data
like
I
a
want to
select to
delete.
deletion kind of stuff. Yeah.
Correct. So that selection should happen in the source side filtering. So if I want to correct 1 month of data, I have to have a source where I have selected that 1 month of data. And then here in the write mode, I am just selecting the delete. That will achieve that purpose. But yeah, here in the menu itself, there is no filter.
But then you have to edit your work data flow, right, Ram?
Yeah, we'll see
If
that.
I have to,
We'll see a more complete data flow.
but in this example which you're taking, and the question which the other guy has asked, let's say I had initially 20 employee records which came 1 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say I assume my first 5 datas were not correct and I want to just delete those 5 and reload only those 5 records. But here either I have to run it for all 20, drop everything and reload everything, or can I just delete 5 records and just load 5, those employee number 1 to 5?
Yeah, if it is 520 in that ratio, we will not mind. We'll run it. But yeah,
No,
if
that
you
was just
just
an example. I mean,
example,
that's
I
just
understand.
a.
I
So let's say
understand.
I have
But
10,000
for
employees.
others,
Okay, I will recreate the example. I have 10,000 employees. I just pressed up 10 records in that, and I want to reload the 10 records.
yeah. So in that case, what you can do is from the source side, you can apply filters, and then you can say. So by source side filters, I mean so either a remote table or a view, wherever you are bringing it as a source to the data flow, at that side, you create a filter where you say, okay, based on some criteria, maybe employee range from 1 to 10, or based on some criteria, you are able to select the affected records. So that will act as the source for the data flow now. And then you do the data flow with the delete option. Now all the 10,000 records will not be deleted, only those, because the source itself is sending only 10 records. So that will be
It means
performance
I
will
have to
also be good.
I got your point, but that means I have to edit the data flow, right? In production.
Not edit the data flow in production. So you have
So
to edit the source.
how do we restrict the data? So say here I have an employee
So
table
for
as a
example,
source. Yeah.
this is not a remote table. Okay. So this is a view. For example, this is a view, employee view. I have created an employee remote table, and on top of that, I have created an employee view. That's why most of the times we create a layer, scalable layers where we have tables, and for every table we have a view. So in that view, what I can do is, so every time, yes, that view will have my employees all records. I will have a filter operator, but I will not filter anything. It will always send 10,000 records from my remote table to my view. But now I am in the error correction mode. I have to correct this error. So in the filter operator, in that view, in the graphical view, in the filter operator, now I can pass certain filters. And then
Got
in
your
the
point.
view,
I got your point. But now the thing is, I need to have a view in middle. Otherwise, if I had a direct table as a source, I cannot do it.
yeah, that's true. Yes. But in general, these
I think you can do,
the
you can
sources.
do it. I think you can do it, but it's not the best practice, I feel.
See, in general, I'm coming to this confusion, the resolution of this confusion. In general, most of the sources you will be using are SAP sources, right? And SAP sources, they themselves have delta handling mechanism. And so the SAP has created this in a way that the assumption is, so this will be scheduled and it will be in running status, right? So if you have to understand how the source is sending the record. If the source is always sending delta, right? That's why the default mode is append. So you do not care like if the existing records are only changing or new records are coming. So you are saying the system that I am expecting only new records to come. So if that is the case, then you can put it in append. And data flow are generally not run by humans, right? It's scheduled and it is running. So the given is all the changes you want to apply are applied in the sources. So either the source is under your control, you are putting a view, filter, everything, logic is built there, or the source is directly the source system handling all those things. Maybe a BW system or HANA system that is doing all the heavy lifting. And then in DataSphere, this data flow keeps running. So same thing for delete also, but in delete, the purpose itself is like, it is kind of error fixing repair mode, or very rarely it's in production you have a thing that is set up with delete and keeps running. So we will have deletes when we have a very small table like this, and it doesn't matter like to delete everything and load every time, or truncate everything and load every time like that. But other than that, most of the times you will be using delete for some error correction. So in BW also we have change log table, and we want to correct some errors, we'll do that, right? So same mode here as well. But yeah, I mean, I see your point. It would have been better like if they give some option here to apply some filters. I'm totally on that with you. But yeah, I mean, SAP had, I think, some assumptions of the type of sources that people are going to use and how it will handle those.
So this table, Ram, I mean, maybe other way of thinking about it. This table which you have created, table one, will show up in my space, right? As a normal table.
Yeah, it will.
And can there, forget about data flow, can there, if I go into the table and do a selective delete?
Yeah, you can do a selective delete and it can keep running in the append mode. Then there is no issue. But again, the
I was
problem
just
is,
thinking, I mean, what could be a possible, avoiding of this?
yeah, here you can, this is the table, this is the target table. Here you can do a selective delete.
From where?
But yeah, again, I'm saying that, see, we will see a data flow, better data flow tomorrow. But what I'm trying to say is the data flow is one thing, like I know you understand, but for others, the data flow is something you are not going to. So as a creator, we are creating the data flow, but as a consumer, no one is going to keep running them. So they will be scheduled and they will be forgotten, right? They will keep doing their job. Only people will notice when they start failing, right? So when they are failing, they'll see in the integration monitor, then they will notice, and then they'll do some error correction or bug fixes. And this modes like the delete mode, etc., are generally when you are doing some bug fixes, right? So they are not the regular workflow. So that's something you have to understand.
No, totally with you on that. I mean, but let's say you are running a data flow, and tomorrow the business says, you know what, last month data is not accurate. From they see an S4 data and they say, okay, in S4 I'm seeing a totally different number, and I'm seeing a totally different number in DataSphere, and there is a data flow, let's say in middle, bringing data, aggregating, and everything, right? Now,
So
what
see,
do we do next?
See, the ideal thing is you should have a table, you should have a view, and then you can have the data flow right on top of the view as the source. So that will give you a leverage that between your table and the view, you can have operators, where you can do certain things, and it does not have to be you are editing the data flow every time it is running. It will give you one layer previous to this where you can do that changes. But yeah, again, I'm trying to say is if you are your same scenario, if you take S4 scenario, you can control whatever data is coming from S4 itself, right? So that way, how to control, yeah, we'll see that. So we'll see a better example, maybe using BW or using HANA. That way it becomes more clear instead of me talking. And yeah, let's see it in the system. So I understand the complexity, but it's not that complex in my
I
opinion.
mean,
But
it
yeah, they
could
could
have
have
been
done a
very
better job.
simple. Yeah, it could have
Yeah.
been very simple if they just like in SSE also they give you that selective deletion and they give you like dimensions to select, right, to delete the data. They could have done the same thing here. Unnecessary complication.
Maybe there are some way we can do it. So it should be simple. So since SSC has that, it has to be some way. Let's see.
It is not here. It's not here,
Okay.
at least like as a selection. Um, let's see. Let's see how other options are there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Ram. So
Thank you. So anyone else? Any
Thank you,
other
Ram.
questions?
we can connect
Oh,
tomorrow.
it's already 10 minutes more. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Ram,
Thank
one
you.
thing, just I'm not able to connect the SSC. Can you help me once?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So others who don't have questions, yeah, thank you. You can drop
Thank you
out
all.
if you want. Thank you. Bye.
One question, one small question. So maybe you have already answered this question. Yes.
So
Ram?
maybe you can ask maybe after Venu. So let's see what he is facing in SSE.
Yeah, like
Venu,
I'm
please share the
sharing.
screen.
Yeah. So if I'm switching here,
Mhm.
so it's saying that you don't have any account.
Oh, okay. So you have to write a mail to Ankit. So did you get DataSphere access late or you are from the starting itself?
No, I'm starting itself.
So send a mail to Ankit and check that if he has created your ID in SSE also.
Okay.
Put the same screenshot and then tell him that your ID is not working.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
So I
thank
believe he did not give you a user in SSE, only in DataSphere he might have created.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Now go ahead. Please, with your question.
Yeah. So my question is that if I can persist the data in view and by using a different join and different if I'm good in SQL, so what will be the real scenario where I will use your data flow? Maybe you can answer later on, but I'm not able to understand in that way when the view can also be persisted and the data will be also be limited in MySQL. So what will be the real scenario where I need data flow?
So that's a good question, actually. So yes, a view can be persisted, and the data flow always needs a target where it can write data. So ideally, yes, like you said, you can do pretty much most of the things that you can do in data flow in the view also. But the purpose of data flow is to move data from source to target. That's one of the main, like the logical difference. Technical difference is you cannot do everything like in the data flow. For example, there is the Python script operator where you can use pandas and you can use some of the data frame methods in Python to do a better cleaning, right? So which is not possible in a view. In view, there is no Python operator, and you can write SQL. And like you said, yeah, in SQL we have some advantages. We have some HANA functions. We can do certain things, but for data cleaning, it's easier to do it in Python data frame than going to SQL and doing a very complicated thing. So view, the primary purpose is, yeah, you want to create a projection on top of a set of tables or views, then yes, view. Data flow, the primary purpose is, yeah, you want to move data from point A to point B within DataSphere, and the target is also a writable target. On very simple flows, yes, you said this 100% right. Whatever you do in data flow can also be done as a view, and the view can be persisted. But in the most, real cases or complex cases, data flow has certain things which you cannot do in the view. One of the thing is, the data cleaning is much easier in data flow. We'll see what is a Python script operator.
Okay, thank you. And when you said you move the data, it doesn't mean that the source data is empty in that way. You're just moving the data from source to target in that way.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye. See you soon.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.